first few weeks after my haphazard arrival to Barcelona were a hot mess of frantic scrambling while I was trying to find a job, as I didn't have an excess of money and tension was mounting. In the 11th hour, a staffing agency placed me at a call center attending to the needs of various branches of the mega behemoth Citibank. Technology infrastructure was the name of our department, and we had a cozy corporate office in front of one of several postcard-friendly looking beaches around Barcelona. The next obstacle course was the once-a-month salary at the job. I had to make it almost 6 weeks before my first check would arrive. That unforeseen twist led to the introduction of one of my digital patron saints, couchsurfing.com. The premise of that site is counterintuitive to the stat quo of society, that complete strangers not only would meet you while you're visiting their part of the world, but some would even let you stay at their place for free. As my resources were steadily dwindling, the only option was to dive headfirst into their platform. Driven by the idea of not having a place to stay, I contacted countless members of the site listed around Barcelona. The 3 people who got back to me out of probably hundreds of emails I sent were key players in my story there. They actually played a life-saving role in what happened. 2006 was a radical year for me. There were other catalyzing events in that time beyond the morbid coincidence surrounding the death of my friend and the maiden voyage into Europe. I began a path of vigorous investigation into the events of 9/11 after someone sent me a video of a now highly censored, controversial talk radio host who has become a household name synonymous with conspiracy theory culture. The video showed footage of a conference with a panel of academics that included Mr. Jones, former military officials, and other experts who met to discuss the sizable discrepancies between data yielded by various agencies pertaining to the attack and the government's narrative. Barely 6 months after the advent of the internet's town square Twitter, I found myself assigned to a desk with a computer terminal that had access to a veritable library of non-corporate friendly media via Google Video and the infamous InfoWars site. Recording this almost 20 years later, it seems almost impossible to believe a corporate environment in today's world would allow this anomaly of censorship to exist in their domain. Mere weeks before Saddam Hussein was executed in November of 2006 for crimes against humanity by an Iraqi special tribunal, I began the next layer of metamorphosis imparted by the information and investigations I could conduct while perched at a desk fielding countless calls every week from irate Citibank employees having issues with the company's intranet. As the next few weeks unfolded after starting at Citigroup in October, my housing situation was about to take a hard left. I had to spend exactly one night at the beach, which culminated in me curled up on something resembling a stone bowl, seated next to the sands of Barceloneta. Clutching a pocket knife in my palm, I was jostled awake twice during the night, once by a pair of short Spanish men who were amused at me jumping up from my seat, startled by their presence. The other unsavory alarm clock went off when I opened my eyes to find a tall African man staring down at me from behind the stone structure I was sprawled out upon. He asked me, "¿Cómo estás?" I responded with a laconic, "Bien, ¿y usted?" He just smiled and kept walking as I exhaled gratefully before closing my eyes again. An Englishman from the couchsurfing website named Rory set in motion the next rescue mission for me. He asked if I could watch his slick beachside luxury apartment, equipped with a hot tub-laden balcony that had an intimate view of a cross-section of the valley where Barcelona sits, flanked by mountainside. The first morning there, I woke up laughing. It seemed just as I was about to be forced into sleeping at the beach full-time, that impending doom had been put on hold. For several days, life felt completely on my side. The malignant housing woes were almost over. I had to be shuffled around a handful of hosts in the various parts of the city before securing a room in a modern apartment on the outskirts of Barcelona with my Brazilian coworker and her husband. From there, I began to fall into the routine of a Monday to Friday office life with 2 shots of the weekend warrior. One of my couchsurfing friends had become my girlfriend in spite of our language barrier. It had all the markings of a romantic comedy of errors, as we tried to reconcile that her English was better than my Spanish, but that still wasn't saying much. The call center scene at my job was reminiscent of an old war movie, where a mix of nationalities and races were aligned in the same battle. We had American, Canadian, Cuban, Swedish, Czech, German, Polish, Spanish, Dutch, Caribbean, Irish, Scottish, English, and a Nigerian man they called Coyote, who told me the day he escaped his country, the military executed his brother right in front of him. The job did not require me to learn any new language, nor did my girlfriend. I had still not matured enough at that point to get over the irritation of learning Spanish, so I defaulted to being a gringo in Spain who did not speak more than the basics of the native tongue. By the time Christmas arrived, I was on the verge of receiving my contrato fijo, which means fixed contract, and in Barcelona is a big deal. It would elevate me from the status of temporary employee to an official member of the company who receives paid holidays and better job security. My girlfriend was half Spanish and half Catalan. However, due to the repression of the Catalan language and culture, until the dictator who outlawed it died in 1975, Francisco Franco, at that point there was a national resurgence of cultural pride. Many, including the woman I was dating, were mixed between the two ethnic groups in that part of Spain, but did consider themselves to be Catalan. She introduced me on New Year's Eve to the time-honored Hispanic tradition of eating 12 grapes at midnight. Even during the monotony of working in an office with the same schedule every week, life often teetered on the sublime. But as the months wore on, the discovery, the novelty of it, and my expat identity were starting to show signs of wear and tear. The goodwill between my housemates and I, a group of Brazilian travelers who had come to Spain to better their Spanish, was waning, and my girlfriend and I were starting to come apart at the seams as well, with the language barrier becoming more of a nuisance each week that passed. Some rearrangements were needed. My time in Spain between 2006 and 2007 unfolded during the height of the Bush-Cheney neocon era of anti-American sentiment.
You are American? Yeah.
However, there was at least one person who had emerged onto the scene in the wake of my crumbling relationships with both girlfriend and housemates who took favorable notice of my presence abroad. She was a Swedish coworker who had transferred into my department around the same time that I moved to a new shared living situation in Barrio Gracia, on the hip and fashionable side of Barcelona's city center. Fate, in tandem with middle management, assigned me to train her. This effectively planted the seeds of the climactic conclusion to this chapter of life. We clicked rapidly over the next several days, and I had already decided to set my sights on new romantic interests without first formally ending the relationship with the Catalan woman. Admittedly, that was an egregious error. Before I could work up the nerve to ask her out, the Swedish sensation beat me to it, suggesting we hang out after work. The cultural mores of Sweden were radically different than what I came of age with in the United States. I was stoked and gladly accepted her invitation. The fateful date came quick. After work one night, we took a backpack filled with blankets and contraband to the privacy of a well-known but sparsely inhabited beach called Bogatel. We tied one on while losing ourselves in a meandering conversation about life, all the while inching towards our first kiss. The moonlight paved an ethereal path on the face of the ocean as we lost ourselves in the euphoria of the moment. We didn't realize in our revelry that a man was crawling on the sand toward us. Before we could do anything to defend ourselves, it was already too late. An abrupt check of our surroundings revealed that my backpack and her purse were gone. The next several weeks unfolded like a classic romance that was cut and pasted right out of the movies. We savored the ephemeral fizz of the connection until the last bubble evaporated. However, my life in Barcelona was no longer sustainable. My mounting frustrations with the dead-end job and the ever-increasing cost of living convinced me to head back to the US. We made a pact to meet up later that year in New York, and I floated back to Brooklyn with a radically new outlook on life. But there was still more to the story of the Swedish saga.